Today I'm going to show you how you can get started with Leonardo AI. It is one of the most complete AI art platforms out there. It creates really incredible imagery. I'm going to just sort of walk you through the platform and show you basically how to use everything. And then I'm going to move on and show you more in-depth features in a playlist in a few videos afterwards. So when you go to the website, there's a link in the description. You can simply head here and it sort of shows you a little bit of how the platform looks. So just click Get Started and sign up for an account. When you first land, you're going to see a screen just like this, and most of the features are listed down the left here in the menu. Now, I'm using a free account. I will eventually switch to a pro account, but I want to show you what you can do for free. And you've also got your features, the main features listed up the top here, as well as a gallery of images below, so you can see what kind of images are possible using this platform. These are your main sort of areas. You've got image generation, which has just been updated. They've got a whole new UI. Then we move on. We also have Realtime Canvas, Realtime Generation, also then Motion for creating videos, and then an Upscaler that can upscale images, and finally a Canvas editor, which allows you to use AI to edit your images. So I'm going to go into the image generation for a minute, but we're not necessarily going to start there. Now, of course, it offers you a tour. I'm going to basically do that for you. So we're going to finish. So you've got a bunch of options down the left here, and there's a lot to sort of go through. But you see here, we've got options like prompt enhance. This is where you type in your prompt. So there's options here like the contrast, generation mode, and number of images. And over here, there's a preset called Leonardo Phoenix. I can choose a different preset, so anime or cinematic kino, anything else. So maybe I just go with cinematic kino for the sake of this. So there's a lot of different models you can choose from. There's also some image options to help style your prompt, but a lot of this is a pretty complicated way to start. So I actually recommend easing in things a little bit. So instead, we're going to actually exit this image generator, come back and go to Realtime Generation to get started. Now for reference, Realtime Generation is also down the left here. Those main tools at the top are also listed under AI tools here on the left. So we're going to go into Realtime Generation. If you've never generated art before, this is a great way to get a feel for how things work. So at the moment, if I want to get started, I can just type in a prompt and see what results I get. And if you see, as I was typing that, these images were changing. That's what real-time generation is. It will change as you go. Now, the proper image generator doesn't do that because you're spending a lot more time with settings, but you can see here, straight away what I've got, a dog with sunglasses flying through the clouds. If I can add things in there like a style such as cartoon, it'll convert it to more of a cartoon style. If I add drawing, it adjusts the prompt a little bit further. But if I take cartoon drawing, move it to the front, cartoon drawing of a dog, so you can see it actually gets a pretty similar result. But over here under elements, we can change various things. So we've got folk art, illustration, coloring book. If I change kids illustration and crank it right up, it will make it more of a kid's illustration. I bring it back and it goes a little bit less. So we get to simplify our images here on the right pretty effectively. Now toon and anime, we can crank that up as well if you want more of an anime sort of effect. But keep in mind that these are not the finalized images. These are a bit rough and you'll actually have to upscale them to get the polished final image. But I can go through and change any of these as a style adjustment and it will adjust on the fly. If I add coloring book, it will basically make it black and white, so I'll bring it right down. But on top of that, above actually changing these settings here, there's also some profiles. And you'll notice these if you're using, I guess they call it alchemy or some of the more advanced settings in the image generator. At the moment, we're using dynamic, but I can go to anime and it'll make an anime style dog. I can change it to photography. And if I bring the kid's illustration down a bit, it looks more like a photo. And so you can pick something here that matches what you're after. I'm going to go for cinematic. So we've got like a cinematic looking dog here. So I've created my image. Now I've got a more in-depth video, which I'll also add to the playlist after this one if you want to go more in depth. But essentially this is our image. I can go up here to creative upscale, click the button, and I give it some time to upscale. But this, playing around with this will give you an idea of what you can achieve with a prompt. With your prompt, the good idea is to put in what you want to see. That's your subject, so the dog with sunglasses. The environment, so obviously we want to see the clouds and what it's doing, flying through the clouds. If you want to add in some style, at the moment I have cartoon drawing, so you can see if I remove that, it changes to more of a photo, and I can upscale that as well. So this gives you an idea of what to expect from the platform. You can test things out, and until you actually upscale anything, you notice here it says 8. I have a free account comes with 150 credits, and I believe it refreshes every day. But you can actually test things out here. And before you upscale, everything here does not take away from the credit system. You get a good chance to really learn what the image generator is capable of in regards to what subjects it's using. And again, so we've got different elements we can play with here, different profiles and styles we can play with in there, and get a bit of a feel for that. And once you get used to that, you can go to the image generator. But before we do that, let's exit. And you can see I did 2 generations at 8 credits. I had 150 and I'm down to 134. And you'll notice here it says it resets in 19 hours, so you get an idea of how long until you get your next set of tokens. So this is a good one to learn to use for free if you want to play around for a little bit in the beginning. But let's go to our personal feed, because at the moment we're at home. We're going to come down to personal feed. And I've created 2 images and upscaled them. So I open this up. You can see my image. I can click on it, zoom in, and that is the final image I was able to get with that real-time generator. And the quality is pretty amazing. So that is a very straightforward way, very easy way to get what you need and test things out. But again, we can go across to our next image. And we've got another really cool image, and the detail, very clean. And a lot of the finer details are looking pretty good. So that's how easy it is to start creating images with Leonardo AI for free. You get a lot of time to figure out what you're looking for, and then you can just simply polish that off, and that's when you spend those free credits. But once you've gotten a hang of using the real-time generation down here, I then recommend moving into image generation. So you can see here, I'm yet to make my first AI image. So maybe this time I type in my prompt first. I have a cat wearing a top hat in a cyberpunk alleyway. So you're going to find when you're using AI, there's a few little buzzwords you can play with, like cyberpunk, steampunk, things like that. I'm going to be sharing some styles in the future that you can play with. Otherwise, I do have some style videos for Midjourney that would also apply to Leonardo AI. But also, it's pretty straightforward. So at the moment, we've got cinematic keynote, and there's a preset style here. You'll notice we've got some styles here, dynamic, very similar to what we had with a few extras. So the preset style is very similar to what we had in the real-time generator. So under contrast, we can make the contrast high or low. I'm going to keep it at medium for now. And you can see we can generate with fast mode or quality, which is a pro feature. So you can see if I click here, I have to sign up for the $10 a month pro feature, which is pretty, it's worth it in my opinion. So we're going to stick with fast for now since we're using free. We can change the shape, so we can go 4:3 like an old television size, or 16:9 like a modern television size, or we can click on more and get a more custom proportion. And you see we've got some down here for reference, like Instagram, TikTok, that kind of thing. So we'll stick with 3 to 4 simply because it's there. And we can change different resolutions, so you can go to a much larger resolution, keeping in mind you can upscale this at any time to increase the size of your images. But we'll stick with just medium for now, and we'll, instead of 4 images, although we can't change it because we're on a free plan, so we'll stick with 4. And if you want to keep your images private, you do need a pro account for that. You can do that also. There are some advanced settings here, such as different models you can use, but I'm going to save that for my dedicated video, which will be up soon on this Leonardo AI playlist. I've got my cat wearing a top hat. I can go here if I want to add a style reference, so I can upload an image to give it a style to play with, or a character reference. Some of these are pro features, and I also have videos on these features as well coming. And much like in the real-time generator, I have elements that I can play with, like CGI Noir. I add that in, which I think is a nice addition. And maybe I add glow wave. So I can add in these different elements as well. And they have some strengths here. I can bring the strength of the CGI Noir up, bring the glow wave down to say 0.3, so I can adjust how much this influences my image. And then I simply hit generate when I'm ready, and I'm going to spend 13 tokens to make this image. So you see we've got some images here, and this one on the far end is the one that looks the most like a cat. But what we might need to do is even take this element and bring it down a bit. And also the preset, we might change from cinematic keynote to something else. Maybe we'll go for Phoenix. Close that off. And because we're using Phoenix, these elements are actually not usable because it doesn't work with that particular preset. So we'll get rid of those. And again, we'll generate some more images. And now we've got something a bit closer to what we're looking for. Phoenix seems to have been the better choice for this particular prompt. So you do have to sometimes try a few times. Most of the time when you're using AI art, you're going to be basically trying to create images a few times before you get exactly what you're after. Now keep in mind, you see my prompt here. I can click this button here and add a new random prompt or even improve my prompt. So if I click on improve prompt, it creates a much longer, more detailed prompt. So I can actually use that instead of this. So if I click generate, we get something a bit different again. Very cool sort of design and feel. I do kind of prefer this one. I think this is a very cool image and sort of more in line with what I'm after. So the next step, say if I've got an image like this, is for one, I can actually unzoom. So that actually creates a little bit more image around the outside of the image. I can copy the prompt to the clipboard. I can remove the background. But for now, I want to upscale. So here, this little symbol here, the Alchemy Upscaler, I click on that, and you can see it is a premium feature. So we won't sign up for that now. But typically, you could upscale this if you had premium and make it a larger image. What we're going to do, we're going to head back out. And because we can't use the Alchemy Upscaler, we're going to come down here. We're going to skip past a lot of these to the Universal Upscaler. And this is another feature you can actually even upload images to. So a little bit of information here. I can actually upload images to use, or I can come here and select from recent images. So I can take this cat image, which I have here. I can upscale it by 2. So it ends up going up to about 1792 pixels by 2300 pixels, as opposed to half that width and half that height, which it currently is now. There's a few profiles I can use, so 2D art and illustration. I'm going to choose CG art and game assets. And the creativity strength, if I crank that right up, it can really change a lot of the image. So I'm going to keep it down at default, maybe even slightly less. I can also give it a prompt. I could even copy my prompt that I used before if I want to, but we're just going to leave it blank for now so I can show you how well this works. And you can see these upscales do take up a lot of points, and I've already used half my points in this video so far, but I click upscale and we see what results we can get. And now we can compare, and it's a bit hard at this point here, so I'm going to zoom in. So we have our original image, I come across, and we have our upscale. It's added detail, sharpened up the image, and done a great job of giving us something a lot higher resolution that we can work with. And we can come up here to download that image and use it as we please. And this is a tool you can use for your own images or for images made with Leonardo AI to increase their resolution with AI. So far, you've got a pretty solid idea of how to start creating images and then how to upscale them for maximum resolution using Leonardo AI. But there's still a few more things I'm going to touch on. And I'm switching to my premium account now. I'll still point out which things are free and which aren't. And that way we can go a bit further and dig into this. So now that we've gone through the main tools, which are pretty much image generation and the universal upscaler, also talking about using real-time generation as a way to get started if you've never created AI art before, I'm actually going to move on to real-time canvas, because now we're starting to get more into the editing side of Leonardo AI. However, this also works as a powerful image generator as well. So I'm going to click on real-time canvas, and what we get is a window on the left here, which is the input, and a window on the right, which is the output. Now I'm going to go more in depth on another video on this yet again, but I will touch on this briefly so at least you can have a bit of an experimentation with it. So under interactive over here, now this is the free mode. This mode will update the drawing every time you complete an action, or real-time mode, which is a lot more responsive. This is a premium feature, so you have to have a premium account for it. So you can kind of go between the two. I'm going to go for real-time mode, just so that way you can see what's happening, but it just means it's a little bit quicker than what we usually see. If I type in a prompt down here, I've got cyberpunk waterfall, water standing in front. Yes, cyberpunk seems to be a theme for today. We've got a warrior standing in front and kind of like a waterfall type object in the background. And like before, we have to upscale the image to get the full version, but we can also go instant refine, and it will smooth out what we see here as well. So it's one of the benefits of real-time canvas. But everything is really dark because the image I have over here is black. It actually doesn't have much information to work from. So what we can do is we have a brush over here and an eraser, and we can actually draw something on the right, pretty basic. So if I start drawing something, I can change the color over here by going back to the brush and choosing different colors and a different size brush. I can draw something to help guide Leonardo AI's platform to create an image. And if I want it to adhere more closely to my drawing, which looks pretty awful, so I don't really want to do that, but I can bring the creativity strength down and it will be much closer to what I've drawn, or I can crank it right up to full and give it more freedom. So you kind of get a choice as to how much you want your image to be followed. And same as the real-time generation, at the moment we have dynamic. I can switch to anime, instant refine, and it refines my image. Still not quite as sharp as if I were to upscale it here, which is the same thing. We can go in and upscale it much the same as the real-time images. And as I change the prompt, even if I start deleting letters, it starts to change that image. I change it to Cyberpunk Waterfall, and we get this. So we've gone from anime, and we can go to environment, and it changes it a bit again. We can hit instant refine and see that it looks much crisper. And of course, if I want to, I can take my eraser and erase bits and pieces of the drawing. Use my selection tool here to grab certain objects. So if I want to move them around, if I want to move this particular part behind the purple, I can use this to move it to the bottom or move it up and down in order. So you've got a lot of different features to edit that really effectively. But we can also do a little bit more with it by going to In Paint up here. So I'm going to Instant Refine, then go In Paint, and it will switch the output to the input. So I click Confirm, and my image is now over here. So this means I can now In Paint onto that image. So now if I decide I want the waterfall to be a bit taller, what I can do is simply grab my brush. I'm going to choose a bit of a bluey color. I can extend all of this up a bit higher, grab the white, and make some changes there. Maybe I add a little bit of blue just to top off the waterfall. So we can actually draw on here and get edits on the right. And you can also upload your own images and just simply generate an image on the canvas. And there's a whole bunch of options there you can use to basically edit images that you upload or AI art you created using Leonardo AI. So again, I'm going to hit Instant Refine. I think that looks pretty good. And I'm going to upscale this image. Now I've just clicked upscale, but if I go to settings, I can change which upscale I want. So I can bring the refiner strength up to high, which does a little bit more sort of like changes to the image. I can turn on smooth mode or turn it off. I like to have smooth mode on. So I'm going to hit upscale again. So we're going to upscale 2 versions of this image. And when I'm done, I exit the editor and I wait for that image to upscale. And very quickly, I can go into my personal feed. I've got 2 different images here. I click one and I can zoom in and check out that image. So we've got a little person here on the rock, kind of got like some buildings off to the side. I can go across, and this image is slightly different because we use a different upscaler. There's no person here this time, a few differences in the building. I think the high or whatever version this was is the best for this image. So that's a pretty nifty feature. So Real-Time Canvas is a lot of fun to play with, as are a lot of the other image generation tools in Leonardo AI. But there's actually a few more tools available that we can use to maximize our generations made with this platform. Now, the next feature we're going to touch on is the only ones we have left to look at are Motion and Canvas Editor. And we're going to touch on a few of these other bits and pieces at the end, just kind of mentioning what they do. But if I go to Canvas Editor, I can upload images. I can add images I've generated. So I simply go to this image option here. I can upload from my computer or from previous generations or even from the community. To save on time, I'm going to go previous generations. I can find an image like this Mario image and import it. Obviously, I can take my select tool, grab this, resize it, move it around, and anywhere where this window is active, it will actually generate image. Now, before I go ahead, there are the usual image options over here, such as which model you want to choose. So we can go for Leonardo Kino or Diffusion XL. Might even go for Albedo Base XL. You can change the strength, how many images you get to choose from, the dimensions. So by changing the dimensions here, you can change the size of the window. At the moment, it's 512 by 512 pixels. If I want it to be larger, I can crank it up to say 768 by 768. I'm scrolling with my mouse wheel and you can see zooming out as well. And you can do that up here. You can zoom out up here, but I'm just holding a control, zooming out with my mouse wheel, and I can align my image to here. So I have all these options for generating images, and all I need to do is set up the options I want, add in a prompt, and it will add an image in there. So if I were to say, I've just zoomed out a little bit, and I've got extend the background of this dark alleyway in 3D. So we've got our image, we've got our generation window. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and hold down space. So everything's lined up. I hit generate and it extends that background. You'll notice I have some options here, 1 of 4, 2 of 4, 3 of 4. I can choose which one I think looks best. This one I think looks best. I'm going to hit accept. And I can also draw onto the canvas, so I can actually do a draw mask. So if I want to, I can just draw over this one section here and just type in concrete, hit generate, and it will generate just in that area. And I still get my 4 options. This one looks the best, so I keep that. And then as before, I can also grab my sketch, so I can actually draw something if I want to. So maybe I decide I want to draw. So I've got my brush size up the top here. I bring that down. Maybe I decide I want to draw 2 more lights up here. So I could draw a bit of white. Up here I can change the color. So maybe I'll go for a bit of a yellow. Bring that brush size down and just kind of create a bit of a fake yellow. Create a bit of a fake glow around here. Maybe even then take it a bit orange. I can change the opacity so it's semi-transparent. Bring that brush size up and then just kind of paint around that. I might even just reintroduce some of that white. So I can essentially just regenerate this whole area. But I don't need to do that. I'm going to bring the dimensions down to 512 by 512. I'm going to grab the selection tool. I want to try to select the window, which can be difficult at times. I'm going to move it over the light. I'm going to add in a new prompt, lights on the wall, generate, and I can choose from some lights. So it does take a little bit of practice to get it doing exactly what you want it to, but you get the idea. We can make changes to images, and then of course when we're done, we can save the image over here by hitting download artwork to download a PNG. But once again, a video coming soon going in depth on Canvas on Leonardo AI. So we've covered all of the AI tools except for motion, and there's 2 ways to use motion. For one, if I click on this, I can select an image. From here, I've got uploads, generations, and I can create a video. And I have things like motion strength, so high or low, and that's pretty handy. But I'm going to actually X out of that because another way I like to do it is to go into my personal feed, scroll and find the image I'm after. So maybe I find this waterfall image. And I can just simply click image to motion here, bring the motion strength up a little bit, and I'm going to click generate, and it will create a video from that image. Now it does take a couple of minutes, so I'm going to read this and it will appear on my personal feed. I hit close. I'm going to close this down and I'm just going to wait for that video to generate. So after about 1 or 2 minutes, I now have this video here. If I click on it, you can see the animation and it's 768 by 768. I'm going to download this video. And what you see on screen here is the final result. So we've touched on all of the main AI tools of Leonardo AI. This has been one of my longer videos, but it does give you a place to start. You understand the platform, where to go to achieve certain things, and to get basic results and start learning. Now, again, I'm going to pop a playlist at the end of this video for you to go through that'll teach you how to do much more in depth if you really want to master the platform. But I just want to touch on a few more little items back on the main website. So coming down, we have some advanced tools here. So we have fine-tuned models. These are the models that you can choose to use within Leonardo AI. So you can basically go in and explore. So albedo-based Excel, you can see a little bit of what the model is about. And these are in your image generators that you can choose from. And you can see what images have been made with this model. But if you want to create your own model, you can go to training and data sets underneath. So I've created one out of this drawing and out of this model from Pexels in the past. And this is a premium feature. When you have a free account, this is not something that you can actually do yourself. But if you decide that you want to get advanced and train your own model, you can do that. And the way it works is I go to new data set, I give it a name. Obviously, I'm not going to call my actual data set test or description test, but I hit create data set and I upload a bunch of images to try and train my own model so that way I can achieve the result I want based on the images uploaded. So basically, you upload these images, it takes a little bit of time, and you can then train your model, which is pretty handy. And again, another video will be coming on that in the future. Now, also under texture generation, if you understand 3D, you can basically upload a 3D model and generate textures for it. I don't use 3D at all, so this is a little bit beyond me, but I just thought I'd mention it in case you are someone who has some experience in 3D modeling or knows where to get 3D objects. You see here it takes OBJ files. so you can start to generate textures for those objects as well. So that is pretty handy. I imagine a pretty handy tool for anyone using 3D. So that should be enough for you to understand how to explore Leonardo AI and get started with this powerful AI art tool. It has a ton of features. It produces amazing images, and I've been using it for about a year now, and I've loved using it every step of the way. So check out the link in the description if you want to try out Leonardo AI. Otherwise, thanks for sticking through the video and getting this far. I hope you found it useful and interesting. So don't forget to check out my channel for more Leonardo AI videos. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.